Hi, you've reached Bob Iger. I'm not here to get to the phone, but that's what happens when you're the CEO of Planet Earth. Well, CEO of Disney. But hey, money's money, right? Leave me a message, and someone will get back to you on my behalf. Probably. But maybe not. I'm probably out eating a sandwich somewhere. And yes, I killed Han Solo. Leave a message.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Bob Iger? It's Bob Iger. I just wanted to call you and congratulate you on Disney's movie breaking Disney's movies opening weekend box office record. Disney held on to that record for a few years, and now it's Disney's turn to have the record. But who knows? Maybe Disney will come back and snatch the record back with another Disney movie. I haven't even eaten yet today, but I'm so happy because I have so much money. So much money that I'm not even mad that Disney just broke Disney's record. Okay, Bob, you're beautiful. I'll catch up with you later. Oh, and Bob, I love you.
If you're listening to this broadcast, you're a part of the resistance.
Welcome back to Star Wars Newsnet's The Resistance broadcast. My name is John Hoey. Thanks for joining us and joining the Resistance today. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube so you're always aware when our new episodes like this one post. We have a bunch of news to tear through, including that awesome solo behind the scenes clip. So let's get this show on the road by saying hi to the crew. James Baney and Lacey Gilleran.
What colors do you think the new iPhone will come in? Do you think they'll do black and white again? I don't know.
Let me check on www.noonecares.com.
I was just about to say noonecares.com. Oh my
you
God,
were?
yes.
You guys are so original.
Hey guys, how's it going? Two things. One, I want Ron Howard to do an Arrested Development style summary for every Star Wars film stat. And two, I want to be besties with George Lucas and Ron Howard ASAP. We could hang out, have movie marathons, then go shopping for plaid shirts, maybe some baseball caps. It would be great.
To clarify, I do know that they came in space gray. And never mind. Don't worry about it. Too many details.
If you guys haven't yet, Lacey put a track, let me tell you about my best friend, over that clip of Ron Howard and George Lucas hanging out on the Falcon on the Solo set. So if you haven't seen it yet, go to her Twitter account at Lacey Gilleran and laugh it up because it was well done.
They are the cutest old men ever. It just, I love that shot of them at the table playing that game. It's so funny. It fit perfectly.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like George saying like, okay, and then Chewie's gonna look like this or something, you know? He's, you know.
And Ron's like, this is my movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's my time now, George. You gotta go. Maybe George is the one who takes the escape pod at the front of the Falcon, and that's how they get rid of him. That's how they get him off set.
I like that Ron very nicely was like, he even gave us a couple suggestions, and then he left.
He gave us a couple suggestions, and we were like, no.
Yeah, when all the articles a few back said George Lucas directed a scene for the movie, remember that?
Yeah.
All right, anyway, we do have poll results to get into here, and we showed you guys the new Solo, A Star Wars Story Behind the Scenes Featurette. Speaking of that, talk about segues, and we asked you, did it change your level of interest in the movie? And this was pretty one-sided, but only 1% of you said, yes, it did, it lowered my interest. 9% said, no, it didn't, I'm still not sold on this thing. And then 43% of you said, yes, I'm more interested. And 47% of you, the winning vote, said, nope, I was all in already. So it looks like, while everyone was very positive about this clip, most of the people are already sold on this thing. Were you guys surprised by this or expected this or what?
Not particularly. I think that most people were going to say, no, I'm already all in. But what I was surprised, and we'll actually talk about this here in a second when we get to the Newsnet, but the 43% of yes, I'm more interested, as in like, I was kind of on the fence, but now I'm even more interested. You know what I mean? I thought that was kind of an interesting, that was like a very large majority of the people.
Lacey, what do you think?
4 words. No, wait, I think it's 5. Fur coats, capes, Donald Glover. I was in from the moment those came on screen, so I don't know where everyone else has been. These results did not surprise me at all. I think everybody's already... people love Star Wars. Let's watch as many movies as they'll give us.
Yeah, I do think that, you know, like it's kind of split. So half the people, like you're saying, Lacey, we're all in. But I do get that vibe from some people, is what James is saying. There were some people I knew who were like, I'm interested in this movie. I think it's going to be pretty good. And then when they saw that, they were like, yep, okay.
Now I'm more interested.
Now I'm really on board. Something about it. But like you were saying, we'll get into more of that in a little bit. Our best comment went to Old Master. He didn't get his handle, though. He's at Old Master 357. I don't know if that's a Magnum thing or what.
Zip code, how many people he's killed.
Yeah, you never know.
Darth Maul is actually just at Old Master 1.
Yeah, just the Old Master. And he said, I found the featurette reassuring that this will actually be a good movie. I wanted to believe that, but this made me feel better about it. So kind of like you were saying, James, it's more of a reassuring type of thing. So now he's definitely going to buy the expensive IMAX ticket instead of like going to his local dollar cinema in a few months.
I think I'll wait till it's $2 and on a terrible screen with terrible sound.
I'm going to go to the town hall in August and check this thing out.
Yeah,
I was going to say, where are you seeing dollar movies and where can I go to see dollar movies?
Well, Lacey, you know the Edmond Town Hall.
Oh, I was going to say that. Maybe it's that.
Yeah, actually, it's funny too because you guys, your nicer theater is the Danbury. Mm-hmm. That's our dollar theater.
How'd you know that?
Because you talk about it all the time.
Yeah, creep. How do you know where we live?
At Danbury.
Weird.
Well, that does it for the polls and comments. James, it's time for the Newsnet. What's going on this week?
You know, we're used to getting some sort of behind-the-scenes look before we get the final trailer, but this time Lucasfilm decided to flip it on us, and with only a few weeks left before Solo hits, they decided to drop a featurette, which has a ton of new scenes and some more information coming straight from the creators of the film. I personally really loved this new thing, this featurette. We've seen it before. It's not exactly behind the scenes, but I will say, like, I don't know. I almost feel like it was equal to a new trailer because of how much new footage they put into this thing. I was really excited to watch it. It was unexpected. I'm going to say, Lacey, you know, let me ask you then for the casual fans here, you know, there's probably a lot of people who didn't even know this thing was out. Is this a necessary watch? I mean, based on our polls, like we were saying before, it seems that people did in fact get more interested having seen this, but how much is too much?
So I think that it doesn't really matter for the casual fan, as an example, someone at my work loves Star Wars to go see with their kids, and she saw the original ones when they were in the theater. Her and I were talking about Han Solo today, and she was talking about how she's so excited to see the movie because she loves Han Solo and she loves the originals. She doesn't know what it's about at all, but she's just excited to see Han Solo again. And I think that's what we have with a lot of fans of the older movies, as well as maybe someone that's more casual, isn't going to Comic-Cons like us, isn't looking up things like crazy on Reddit like us. They're just excited to see a familiar face. And I think the idea of finding out how Han Solo became the person that they love is interesting. Whether they saw this with Emilia Clarke telling them that, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, and I do think you're right. I think there's like an important balance where like most people didn't see the first or second trailer. They saw the teaser at the Super Bowl and then maybe they catch this for the first time. I actually watched a trailer today for an upcoming movie and I watched the whole thing and then I was like, if this was Star Wars, I'd analyze the crap out of this and try to figure out where people are and what planets and all kinds of different things. But like, I just kind of watched it and was like, yeah, that looks like a fun movie. And that was simply it. John, this featurette, man, you nailed it, right? You were on Twitter the other day and you kind of, you know, put in the old Finn and Poe exchange with the, what's your name? Chewbacca. You added it in for the Solo thing, Chewbacca. What? That's the only name they ever gave me. Well, I ain't using it. Chew. I'll call you Chewie. Yeah, I like that. You know, and I'm Han Solo, and it goes back and forth. And then like a few days later, exactly that is pretty much the exact exchange in this
John,
thing.
you've been kicked off the podcast because you ruin movies.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, so you're officially unfollowed because you're just too dang accurate. But I will give you one last shot, pun intended. Did this featurette give you any more insight into what we might see in Solo?
Yeah. First of all, I just need everyone out there to know who's listening now. I mean, I've been holding on to this for a while, so I have to. Cat's got to be out of the bag here. My last name is really Kasdan, and Larry Kasdan actually has a son named John Kasdan, and that's actually me. The guy who he takes on those interviews with is my proxy. So that's why I know all this stuff.
You're so ridiculous. That is so ridiculous.
and this is where you decided to come out with the information randomly on this episode.
Exclusive Resistance broadcast.
No, the Chewie name thing. I was just having fun with it, and I was thinking like, oh, that'd be so funny if that happened as a parallel to like that whole Finn and Poe scene, and I guess that is what happened. So a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, and I guess I found my nut on that one. In terms of other things with this movie, I was thinking about this today because I watched that featurette again, and it reminded me of like Rogue One trailers and stuff. Like we've seen this era in Star Wars before. 40 years ago, but now we see it with updated effects and cinematography, and like when I saw the Star Destroyer hovering above that plateau mesa thing on Jeddah, like it felt like I was there. I felt like I was at an airport or something, and I was seeing a Star Destroyer. And the same thing here on Corellia, when you're seeing the Star Destroyers being built, it feels very real, like they're really pulling you in, where we didn't really get that in the original trilogy. So it's a new look at that era, which really excites me. And then also Larry, like I think we were off the air talking about this, but Larry Kasdan and Lacey was saying how she liked how Larry Kasdan was talking about how Han is reckless, and Emilia Clarke saying he does these stupid things
with bravado.
Yeah, it's bravado. That's what like Han is everything Yoda keeps training Luke not to be. But Han has no rules. He can do whatever he wants, and somehow he gets by and he gets through and he gets away with it.
Which is what we talked about last week with Alex.
Yeah.
Which is like, he's just lucky, and he gets by on being lucky all the time, and he thinks he's like so good at things, but is he really, or is he just super lucky?
But either way, we get to live through him because of that. He doesn't have the Jedi rules. He's more of the everyman like us, and that's why people love Han Solo so much. That's probably why Kasdan loves him so much. So it's a free feeling. So I like that we're going to get more of that.
I have always kind of put Han Solo in a category of like, have you ever thought like, if I left right now, I'd make it? Like if like you see a showtime for a movie or something, and you're like, if I leave right now, I would probably make it. And then that causes you to be like, yeah, but I don't want to rush, and then like I could get held up, and then I'd miss the first few minutes of the movie. Han Solo would just go. That's the thing. Yeah. It's like, I don't necessarily even know that he's particularly lucky, but it's more like he's willing to just go and do it, and sometimes it doesn't always end up right, but because he's willing to actually like go like right now, he often ends up making it, whereas you didn't get to see the movie. He did see the movie because he went for it.
I never ask myself that question until after I've done it.
Yeah, it's like when he chases after the stormtroopers in A New Hope, and Leia's like, where is he going?
Yeah,
and then he runs around the corner and he's like, oh no, and then he runs back.
Yeah. Especially when they added 500 more stormtroopers in the special edition.
Yeah, before it was like 8.
Yeah,
it was so tough. Good. It was a pain then.
Yeah. The scene of the like worm thing coming out, it was probably like the newest, most interesting thing in that featurette. Do you have any theories? I know you do, Lacey, on what that worm thing might be.
So here's the thing. I went back and looked at it, and I feel like the clip that you see it coming out of the water is different than the shot that you see it from its back. They don't look like the same thing. And I know that sounds silly because they're back to back, but I don't know. I feel like I want it to be the monster from the trash compactor. And I know a couple people on Twitter, were like, no, it can't be. And I'm like, but it would be funny if it was. Like, imagine if it was, and then it ends up on the ship, and then it's once again hunting him like years later. That's hilarious.
So, John, what's the name of the gang that Han is in? Like the White Worm or something?
Yeah, I don't know what the exact name is. Did they reveal the specific name of it?
No, I think we were just maybe hearing rumors, or we saw it on the back of a toy box or something, but like the white worm, and then we see this in this featurette. It's like, so there might be like, I don't know, a race of aliens, or maybe it's a lot smarter than it looks, and it's gonna. Or it could be what
Han, they feed you to if you fail.
Maybe that's the big shot gangster, guys. It's all possible.
I think it's one of those things, like almost where we're this gang and we name ourselves because of this thing.
Of the threat,
if you lie to us, we're gonna hold your feet to the fire, and instead of that, we're gonna hold your face to this worm thing that'll eat your face or whatever this thing's gonna do, or vomit on you and melt you and eat you like the fly. I don't know, but it looks like Han. That's the beginning of the movie because he's wearing that outfit, and what's his name, Moloch or whatever that character's name is in the back, and that's apparently the guy he's gonna be racing. So this is gonna be early in the movie. So I'm not sure the significance of it or what the deal is with it. I think it may just be one of those cool scenes that's like a better version of the boar gullet.
Or it could be not even in the movie. You never know.
Or it could not even be in the movie. That could have been a Lord and Miller thing. They're like, let's just use that in one of the TV spots to throw the people off. And Lord and Miller like, oh, they're using our worm thing. And then they're going to watch the movie and be like, damn it.
I actually heard
they
that
didn't use it.
Therm Scissor Punch was the only thing that Lord and Miller created that made it to the final movie. No, I'm just kidding.
I actually wouldn't be surprised.
I heard the worm was being played by Jonah Hill, and then that's going to be cut from the movie now. So there you go. Sorry, Lord and Miller.
Well, people know, but they'll never tell us. And that brings us on to our next story. You know, sometimes it's fair to say that people have information, but they're afraid to share it because they're not 100% on how factual that information is, or maybe they don't have a second source to cite their story / have a way to prove it. This came up recently on Twitter when one such individual said, "You would be surprised how many news outlets know of stories, but they don't share them for these reasons." As an example, he said that he was well aware of Colin Trevorrow being fired months before the story actually ran. The story gets a little more interesting too, because if this was in fact true, this would put his firing before some interviews that we got where we still assumed that he was the director of the film. So John, I want to take Star Wars out of this for a second, just for a second. Should news outlets hold off on stories like this, situations where there's limited information because no one's running the story, or does this actually restrict the flow of information simply because no one wants to say it?
Yeah, that's tricky, man, because it depends on how people report it. You know, I'm sure there would be, like, whoever this guy is was responsible about it, which is cool. If some other site or someone got a hold of it, they may have just ran with it as this is official and confirmed and been irresponsible. And even if they were right, you know, it's still not really the right thing to do. I mean, we probably would have reported it as a rumor if we heard it, but stressing that, you know, strong source says or something of that nature. It's interesting to me. I mean, I kind of believe this. I think it might be accurate. It kind of goes in line with what I was saying recently about how, you know, Lucasfilm may have things lined up and may have things established, including the diversity of directors thing, even though people are, you know, socking them over the head with, you know, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. They may have already had all that stuff lined up with Mahoney, right? But maybe they weren't ready to decide something unless they had a replacement in place. So maybe they were still talking to people. Maybe they were trying to lock down JJ. And before they say, oh, we've gotten rid of Colin Trevorrow, and everyone's like, what are you going to do? And they're like, we're not sure yet. They're like, no, let's get someone in there to take the news away from Colin, and we move on to the new person. So I think it's real. But in terms of your question, I don't think it would be responsible to talk about it or report it as a rumor. But I would never go out there and just say it was confirmed, especially because if that winds up not being true, you can just go away. That would be an awful report to do if that wound up not being the case. So this guy did the smart thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of these news article or these news sites and stuff, they're always looking for that scoop. So this is a very tempting thing when you come up on a story and you're like, how accurate is it? Because I want to be sure that, you know, we run a story and we have like a second source or whatever. But if nobody else knows this information, maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I can break it. Maybe it's a big story. We can get a lot of clicks and we can be the source. But at the same time, it's like these people, you have to be responsible. And I think he's not saying like, they should run with these stories. But I think what he is saying is like, you would be surprised. There's a lot of stuff that's out there in Hollywood, in these things where people know this, but everybody's just kind of afraid to be I don't want to say afraid either. They're worried about being the person that breaks the wrong story, the incorrect story. So
we've been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
We've had things that we were told were concrete that we reported on that wound up not being true. And we've held on to things, waiting to get a second or third source like this guy is saying, before we reported it. So I know exactly what he's saying.
Yeah. Nobody wants to get burned, but it is the responsible thing to hold off on stories until maybe other people are willing to take the jump on it or something. And then you can actually back it up a little bit. Lacey, does this change your outlook on, Lucasfilm or the information that they hold on to, news outlets in general, or is this story just kind of like a dead on arrival for you?
I think... So first of all, I don't even think this needs to be released. Like, who cares? So, yeah. A couple things about this. So, one, I think, especially with something like a firing, it's a very personal thing. It's, to put yourself in Colin's shoes, he has openly said before that he loves Star Wars and he grew up watching Star Wars and it was a dream come true to get this job. It was probably heartbreaking, just like the guys with Solo, when they got removed from the project. Whether it was a good thing or a bad thing that they were removed, I'm sure it was heartbreaking. So to have anybody report on something like someone getting fired, that can't feel good. Even if he's fine because he's doing Jurassic World, like, it's still heartbreaking. And so I don't think it's necessarily the press's responsibility to release that information before Lucasfilm, because I think it should be handled by the people that are having that separation. I don't think, the Hollywood Reporter should release that before Lucasfilm makes an official statement. I just think it's inappropriate. As for Lucasfilm, that doesn't change my opinion of them at all. I mean, speaking as someone that used to work on an event with them for several years, there were tons of things that were either held or didn't get shared for months and months and months, even though we knew it was happening.
Sure. Because
it just makes sense to not release it until it's concrete. And also, everybody's got certain plans months and years in advance. So in announcement schedules, they might wait. And I've done this too when working for shows like New York Comic Con. When we knew a big celebrity was canceling, there were times that we would hold back an announcement of a cancellation for a week or 2 weeks, even though we knew the person wasn't coming, just because we wanted someone to replace them. And that takes time to replace them. So we would hold that announcement because we'd rather hit people with the bad thing and then immediately hit them with the good thing so that it gets buried.
Bad news is just as important as good news when it comes to when you're going to release that
So
information.
this doesn't change my outlook at all. I mean, there were guests that were supposed to come to celebrations and stuff that couldn't come and let things happen last minute. So no. It's not other people's business what they do. So for them to release it is like, it's nice, but it's not anybody's business.
It could also depend on the situation too, because I don't know if they confirmed the time frame of when Lord and Miller were dismissed in relation to when it was announced. I feel like it was a lot more closer than this gap of 2 or 3 months.
And maybe there was a transitional period with this one, whereas the other one was a clean break.
And one was in production, this one was still not. You had a little more breathing room. Also, maybe because Colin Trevorrow had Book of Henry coming out in September when they announced his departure from episode 9, leading up to that, he probably, he was promoting Book of Henry. He would have been only asked questions about episode 9 and why he lost the gig. So maybe as kind of a show of respect and like a good graces, they said, we're not going to put this out. We'll let you promote your movie so you can do your thing, and then we'll make the announcement.
I would bet that's what it was if I was to put money on something.
This whole thing actually kind of reminds me of a similar story recently with Zack Snyder, and when he was leaving Justice League and all that. There was, he had a family tragedy happen, and then he walked away from the movie, and then they brought in other people to finish the movie. And then later it came out that it was like, oh yeah, that whole thing, like obviously that actually did happen. But at the same time, he was also going to get fired because they didn't like what he was doing with the movie, and that information that came out later, and like it was just
my
a big
whole thing
mess,
is like,
and it was
why
like,
does that matter at that point? He's gone.
Well, yeah, and I think the reason the story didn't break at the time was because they wanted to respect him, but then it broke later, and I think they were trying to say it was kind of similar to, you know, maybe it wasn't just that, maybe actually he was doing a bad job and that's why Justice League didn't do good and all these other things. I think that's where they were trying to make the connection, but it's like, you know, sometimes the stuff just isn't important.
Let's not forget that our Lord and Miller were fired in June of last year. And if this would happen also in June of last year, that looks really bad for both movies to have fired their directors at the same time. So that's probably another factor too that I'm just thinking about now. Like, Kathleen Kennedy's sitting there like, all right, I fired those guys, but this movie's still, it's in production, so I got to get someone in here. Episode 9 hasn't started yet, so let's just ride that one out for a little bit. Let the steam cool off Solo, get Ron Howard in there, and then we can announce that one later when I take JJ out to lunch and get him back. But yeah, I don't know. Either way, it was an ugly situation. But just like Solo, now everyone's excited about it. Episode 9's in a year and a half. People are going to forget Trevorrow was even attached to this thing.
Yeah. Well, we don't know who's currently working on 9, but we do know who might be in it. Look out, Mara. You are officially not the only rumored female in episode 9 now. With this story, I would like to throw up a little bit of a banner of rumor, but, you know.
Rumor Willis.
These days, it could be true. It could be the next big story. I don't know. But the hashtag show is saying casting director Nina Gold is on the hunt for an ethnic female with the strong preference for an African American, 18 to 26-year-old, to portray the character of Caro. Caro is described as having a captivating naturalness and ease to her manner. Caro is a leader and problem solver, smart with a great sense of humor, and a strong will. All this comes to her effortlessly.
She also wears a cape and gambles and...
Yeah. So, Lacey, before we start jumping the gun and trying to piece together exactly how everything is going to happen in the movie, when it comes to these reports of casting calls, how accurate have they been in the past, and do you think this one's any different?
Well, you know, I'm going to be honest. I don't really pay attention to casting calls until they're announced because it's one of those things that they see tens of hundreds of even thousands of people. I mean, for Han Solo, I remember at Celebration, they had said that for Han, they saw, I think, 3,000 people? And Alden was the first person they saw. Yeah, and he was the last person they saw again. So it's really hard for me to say like, yes, this is definitely what the person's going to look like or sound like or be like, because they don't know until they get the people in the room. I mean, I was shown, James, you showed me the casting call for Rachel, which ended up to be Rey, which sounded just like Rey. Yeah. And Thomas, yeah. And Rachel's description sounded just like Rey. Absolutely. Like athletic, beautiful, no parents, but has had a hard life. Like that makes sense.
Brunette
but
and British.
Yeah. It wasn't in there though. British was not in there.
Preferably goes by the name Daisy Ridley.
If not Keira Knightley, someone else.
Yeah.
I went online actually and looked at the behind the scenes from The Force Awakens, which I'd watched a long time ago, where J.J. Abrams talked about Daisy, and they had seen so many people, and they found her as like a no-name person that was randomly towards the end of their search. Sure. So I think it's hard to say, yes, this is accurate, because that other one that you sent me, James, that Thomas one, like I was like, who is this supposed to be? And you thought it was going to be Kylo, and I was like, are you sure? It doesn't really sound like him, but I mean, then with Kylo, Kathleen Kennedy knew Adam Driver was who she wanted, and they approached him. And at first he wasn't sure if he wanted it or not. So
good job, Kathy.
Yeah, she's a girls fan.
If anybody wants to look at these too, like I just searched Google, or it was probably on it's probably on Star Wars Newsnet, which was Star Wars 7 News at the time.
James will post it to his Twitter, and you can look at it.
Yeah, I can post it on Twitter and say, hey,
and
for anybody looking.
He'll circle it and point arrows to it.
Hey,
do his James Baney thing.
Hey, that's what I do.
No, that is what you do. It's great.
Who do people think Thomas is from that description?
Right. He's a tank engine.
Yeah. So Monday I'll post this, and hopefully we'll try to figure out who Thomas is. I'm going to get to you, John. So let's just assume that these are accurate. how do you think this would affect episode 9? We're bringing in another character here.
Yeah, I'm scared. I mean, all right, so I'm under
two
the
characters possibly. Don't forget, we're not really talking about the Mara situation, but there was a casting call for Mara, which is very, like, all right, there was a character, Mara Jade, is that what they're intending here? Or is this just JJ like saying, just put the name Mara on it and they'll go buck?
Yeah, it's a troll job for sure. If it is even true, I'm kind of in Lacey's boat. I don't really buy into these things because it really doesn't do anything for us to buy into them. Like, what do we achieve by believing this? But I'll play the game. So if these are true, what does it do for 9? To me, it makes me nervous because I don't love the idea of introducing new and integral characters in a final chapter of a story when you're trying to wrap everyone else's story up. I know, I just watched Avengers Infinity War and there's 50,000 characters in there and, that's, all well and good. But I feel like we already have enough characters in this trilogy and we have enough story arcs to close up. So to introduce 2 new characters, to me, I don't think they would be pivotal roles. I'm saying maybe Holdo at max, that type of thing, where people will like the character, but it's not going to be like, oh, that's the new this person, because the story's ending. You're going to introduce this character and they're going to go through their whole arc. I don't think so.
So here's the thing, John. Caro is going to show up and take Finn in a ship and go to Canto Bight. And
again? All right, so maybe this time it'll be more fun. No, but I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, casting calls, right? Because Lacey, you just brought up Han Solo. They saw 3,000 guys for Han Solo. The original Han Solo was Harrison Ford doing carpentry work at like Spielberg's house or something.
Yeah, he was a sit-in.
Yeah, and then he became Han Solo. So I'm going to take my Craftsman tool set. I'm going to go to J.J. Abrams' house. I'm going to build him like a bench or something. And I'm just going to stay there the whole time while they're doing casting stuff and then see if it works for me too.
Yeah, let's see if you fall into the category of ethnic female, African American 18 to 26.
I can't pull that off.
The other thing to remember too about these casting calls is they could be casting someone and then they could end up getting cut from the movie.
Yeah.
Long story short, I don't really believe these things, but playing the game, it makes me a little nervous if they're introducing more new characters that are going to be integral anyway.
Yeah, before I say what I'm about to say, I will say that I'm agreeing with you guys. I definitely do feel the same way as you. I don't really pay attention too much to these because it could end up being anybody, and it doesn't really give us too much about the character because they're all like, is a leader. Well, all these characters are leaders because they kind of, do their own thing and they don't just like walk away, but it doesn't really give you a whole lot. But when I did hear Mara, I did think, okay, let's play the game. What if Mara Jade was in this? And I was like, maybe.
Oh boy.
Maybe it would.
What if it's a recast for Leia?
Well, yeah, exactly. That was my thing. Maybe Mara is Aunt Mara and her involvement coming back in, like, it didn't work out between me and Luke or whatever, but you remember me and I'm still here, and they could have this sort of relationship thing. But I am still going to say no. I'm going to say it's just not going to happen. If they're ever going to bring Mara in, it's definitely going to be something between 6 and 7, and it's going to be very small. And
we're
probably not even like...
casting call for Qui-Gon. We're not sure who that's going to be, but we're going to put it out there. And it needs to be 60 to 65 years old, Irish, but able to do a British accent. Any takers?
Anthony Daniels goes out for the role. To be honest with you guys, that's it. That's all I got. I do know that there are a couple other stories that we wanted to get to this week. But let's hit them up in the Scoundrels rundown. What do you say, John?
All right, sounds good, James. Solo theater tickets have been on sale since Friday. So I hope all of you listeners have already bought yours, and let's take the ride on the rundown. Punch it! Yes, that's right. Solo a Star Wars Story tickets went on sale this past Friday. So if you haven't yet, be sure to go to Fandango or theater chain website or stop by your theater at the old-fashioned way and pick up your tickets today. Go to Danbury. Yeah,
John and I are seeing it together. Woo!
We're gonna see it. Go pick up your ticket. I'll tell you what. Buy my ticket. Go to Danbury, buy my ticket, and then drop it off at my house. Or don't. Anyway, Solo is projected to open with a $170 million haul opening weekend. so many early showings will be sold out, so don't miss out. You don't want it spoiled to you that Han Solo and Chewbacca survived the movie. Trust me. One thing you don't need tickets for is Forces of Destiny, and it is back. The animated series of shorts has returned with 7 new episodes, including the standout episode being Luke and Leia on Endor with the Ewoks that has Leia using Luke's green lightsaber. The tears of sexist men are hydrating the earth as we speak. Relax, guys. It's a kid's show, and your mom will still make your Hot Pockets for you.
Where's Kylo? That's what I want to know.
I think he'll probably show up at some point. Jumping back to Solo, Donald Glover took us aboard the Falcon on the Star Wars YouTube channel, showing us all the different parts of the ship as it was owned under Lando Calrissian, including his impressive cape closet, sleeping quarters, and an interesting part of the set, the area outside of the Falcon actually converts into hyperspace as he pushes the lever for lightspeed. Yet another tangible aspect of this movie that will delight fans of practical sets and effects, and what a better place to have that happen than the greatest ship in the galaxy, the Millennium Falcon. For the full articles on all these stories, as well as your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, and more, head to our website StarWarsNewsNet.com every day. That's it for this week's rundown, so let's see which of your questions Lacey has for us this week in Ask the Resistance. Chewie, get us out of here!
Okay guys, it's that time again for hashtag Ask the Resistance. You've submitted your questions from Twitter, and hopefully the force is strong with our answers this week. Our first question is from Danny Forster at Danny Space Coast. What is up with all the Earth and pop culture references in Last Shot? For example, fries, motel, and headphones. Plus, does having a Gungan and an Ewok in the same scene spell disaster for the upcoming Solo film? I'm gonna take this one, ladies first. I think the references are in there because, like we said last week, he wrote what he knows. And I think he wrote the book knowing that people that weren't huge reading Legends books like Alex Damon fans were reading the book, so he didn't want to do all Star Wars terms. I think that's why it was in there. Gungan and Ewok, I think it was just like a callback to what he knows again. He likes the prequels. He probably grew up on the prequels and the original, so does it spell disaster? No! Solo's going to be a great film. I think it's going to be a really fun time, and I hope you like it, Danny, because it's going to be good.
You know, I noticed, well, I didn't notice that there was headphones in the novel, but what I did notice is there's headphones on the Falcon, on Lando's Falcon, in that like walkthrough. He's like showing like a bar and stuff, and he sits down on one of the benches and he goes, he got some headphones, listens to some music or something like that. And I was like, is that a set prop piece? Headphones? Like they were like big, like Bose headphones.
Yeah, you know, it would be awesome if it was a Walkman from Guardians that was in there.
Yeah. But I don't know if it was supposed to be a prop for the movie, if it was just a joke, like, oh, there's some headphones sitting here. I guess Han listens to some music.
I could be wrong. I think Glover said in an interview once recently that he would like take naps in there between shooting, and like he would hang out on the Falcon. So maybe those were just his like Dre beats. I don't know.
Just his, yeah.
Listening to his own music while he's sleeping.
So I actually forgot to pick out a question this week. So right now I'm going to reach out into the force, the Twitter force, and I'm feeling a question from Helio Carrasco at Silent with an E. No, it's with a 3. Yeah, Silent with a 3. They say, random thought, if the blaster Beckett throws to Han in the movie is his iconic weapon, do you think Han would continue to use the weapon if Beckett ends up being a traitor? He kissed the gun before throwing it to him, meaning it's somewhat important to him. Oh man, it's a good question. I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say that even if the gun was important to Beckett, I don't think that would matter to Han. I think it would just be a blaster and he would have his own affection. I don't think you would connect the affection with Beckett. But even though he does kiss the gun, I don't even think Beckett has affection for the gun. I think he has affection for guns, blasters, something on his side at all times in general. I think he's just kind of saying, here's the only thing you can trust in the world. Kisses the gun and then throws one to
James,
Han.
You have to do it in your Woody Harrelson voice.
You said my normal voice is my Woody Harrelson voice.
I know, but if you if you put your little tinge on it, it really comes through.
Well, what am I even saying then? I guess.
Just make up, like, what if you nail this line? Make up the line of, like, Woody kissing the gun and giving it to Han or something. Like, let's do some improv.
All right. So improv. Let's see here. There's only one thing you can trust. The blaster on your side. Here you go, kid. It's the best I got.
That's
I think he kisses the gun more as a mannerism, not as like a literal, like deeper meaning. I think it's just him playing off of this is what my character would do.
And that's what I'm saying. I think I don't think he's saying like I don't think he kisses the gun because the gun belonged to his wife or something. I think he just kisses the gun because it's like a way of saying, this is our world, this is what we trust, and he tosses him the gun, kind of a thing, like affection towards the game, if you will. What does he say? What's the actual line from the movie? He says, once you enter this world, there's no going back or something. So I think he's just saying, yeah, you're in it for life. Yeah, you're in it for life. Since when does he have a
Southern accent? You guys really giving him like a Texan accent.
You know why? I'll tell you why. Because I just watched True Detective season 1, and that's why. Because he has that Southern accent in that show. But I definitely just sounded like James Vanderbeek in Varsity Blues. I don't want your life. Is that your answer, James? That one? That
is my answer. Did you prepare? Do you have a question this week, John?
I do have a question. It comes from one of our long listeners now, Sean Santarude at Rude Cold.
Rude.
I believe he's across the pond in the UK, but he definitely rocks one of our triple solo headphones t-shirts over there. So right on.
Yes,
Sean.
What about, we didn't even make that connection. We have a t-shirt with Solo with some headphones on.
Yeah, I made that connection. That's why I just brought it up, bro.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
I don't know. I forgot. But Sean asked, do you think the new Resistance animated series will have characters that we could potentially see in episode 9? Maybe they've been sent away on a mission before episode 7 or 8 and can return for 9. Hashtag Ask the Resistance. I'm going to say no, just because of history. So for the same reason we only got Easter egg references out of characters from Rebels in like Rogue One and that sort of thing. These are kid shows. As much as we love them because we just love Star Wars, and not enough of the movie-going fan base are going to be watching these. So, like, if you have episode 9 and have all of a sudden Harrison Dula pops up, people are going to be like, who the hell is that? Like, is that the woman dancing from Jabba's sail barge? Like, who know? We don't know who that is. So we may get some references or a cameo from a character that's on that show in episode 9, like paging General Turk from Scrubs. You're
General Turk from Scrubs. I love that.
We may get some kind of cameo, but nothing significant. So I feel like they're going to keep that sort of separate, even though these things are quote unquote canon. So thank you, Sean, for that question. You're the man, and we'll catch up with you later.
You know, I was actually catching up on my Jedi Council, and Anthony Bresnikan pointed out that he thinks one of the coolest things coming out of this series is the possibility that we're going to probably get more Snoke information than we did from anything else. Considering that this is the whole point of going up against the First Order, you got to think they're going to talk about the leader of the First Order and trying to take him down like he's like the Cobra Commander or something like that, you know.
Do you think we'll get some Kylo?
Maybe.
Little DJ? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That was an improv line, by the way. He was supposed to say something else, right?
It was. He was supposed to say,
I know.
No, I
you win
think
some, you lose some, or something like that.
I think it was something like that, where he's supposed to be like, yeah, I am, blah, blah.
Yeah. But he's like, he went all Benicio.
Maybe.
I would like to see him back in 9.
Nah.
I love
He's
Benicio
the Jack
del Toro.
Sparrow of Star Wars. Get out.
I would love to see him back as a character, but I don't know about the movies. I think fans would just like, he'd walk on screen and they'd be like, this again? I think he's too associated with Canto Bight. And like we joked earlier, if you go back to Canto Bight, no matter how cool it is, if you try to redeem it, it's not going to get redeemed. People are just going to roll their eyes at it. So just do something different, I think.
I guess so. They tried that one-off comic and it was apparently horrible.
I thought it was supposed to be an ongoing series.
This whole beautiful town.
That was a really bad line.
I hate Canto Bight. I hate it.
Yeah.
The only good thing about Cano Bite is that beautiful crane shot in the beginning that goes over like 7 tables that they took from like a 1920s silent movie.
Yep.
Shout out to Ryan Johnson. You the man.
Canto Bite's kind of like the prequels. Like, yeah, there's some cool ideas there, and like some of the characters are neat, but like the whole execution just didn't really work. I don't know. It's kind of funny.
You know what I was thinking?
I like the book though. Canto Bite. It was fun.
I understand the importance of Rose because we have a prominent Asian actress for the first time representing Star Wars Rep Matters, and I get that. But like, you don't see people walking around quoting Rose Tico. Like, her quotes are not doing well, in my opinion. Like the one you just said, Lacey. Like that's just a bad quote. And then when she pulls the saddle off the father, and she's like, "Now it does."
Like, you know what? I would go ahead and say that she has the most cringeworthy lines in Last Jedi.
Well, I'm not very talk at Gooding, so.
Is that what I sounded like?
No, that's what she said in the film.
Doing
I'm not
talking,
very
yeah. No, but like,
do good at talking.
I genuinely understand her lines because the way Ryan described her was like it was the girl he would hang out in high school that was a little bit awkward but like nerdy and got along with him, and that she played it beautifully. I just think that some of the lines were just a little like the ending where they kiss, like, ugh, God, I can't.
Right, and she was, you know, she is what she is. She was a side character. She had no flaws. She was always like she already knew everything that she needed to know. She's like, "No, Finn, this is how it goes." She was
more relevant of a character than Lando in Empire, though. And I don't think you walk out of Empire going like, well, he's kind of a side character, so.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't care about Lando when I watched the Empire Strikes Back. I liked him better in Last Jedi, where he falls off the boat, he falls off the thing, and he's like yelling at
his scream when he's like,
Han!
Higher! Just a little bit higher!
Yeah, he's like, all right, it's okay, I can see a lot better. What a good movie. Let's talk about Return of the Jedi for now.
You know what?
No, I was like,
funny
so that
story.
answers your question, Sean. Yeah.
No.
I already said thanks to Sean.
No, yeah.
Sean already got his thanks. Side note, I did see some suggestions or requests for us to watch movies and give our commentary, so I'm down when anybody wants to join.
Maybe. Lacey, how can people send us questions?
Yeah, so if you want to be a part of this rambling, if you guys want to be a part of this, you can send your Twitter questions to #AskTheResistance, or hit us up at RB@SWNN. So yeah, we'd love to have you on the show. You can ask about anything. You can ask John about shirtless Kylo Ren. Just how big are his pecs, John?
I don't know. I'm too busy looking at his shaved head for episode 9.
I hate you so much. But thank you so much for your questions. And on that note, now it's really back to John.
All right. Thanks, Lacey. And as always, we want to thank you out there for listening and spreading the word of our show. Please keep telling your friends, family, classmates, and anyone you know that likes Star Wars about the show. They can simply just Google The Resistance Broadcast to find us. As always, visit our website, StarWarsNewsNet.com, every day for all of your latest Star Wars news, information, editorials, reviews, and more. James, where can people find you?
You can find me going through my stuff and finding my old iPad Generation 1 and going, I could use this for notes for the show. And then getting really excited because it was a really good idea and it really helps out. I talk about Apple. I don't want to say too much because it was very rare, but just the beginning and the end.
You love Apple.
I do love Apple stuff. I just kind of like to toss it in there, you know. But I leave the Dragon Ball out now.
That's true. Lacey, how about you? Where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Lacey Gilleran. I'm currently coming up with the outline for my George Lucas, Ron Howard buddy cop fanfic. Nice. So get ready for that dropping soon. And sending John shirtless Kylo Ren pics. And that is the last time, by the way, that I'm ever bringing it up again.
Wow. Hey,
I've moved on.
You didn't have to bring it up this time.
I had to have one last dig in there. One last dig. I've graduated, guys. You should be so proud of me. I've moved on.
Yes, she's growing. She's growing as a person on the podcast. It's a wonderful thing. You guys can find me, if you haven't shut off already, on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. I promised a shout out to the first person who guessed this right, so I asked who are the 3 characters to mention Leia by name in A New Hope, and it was 3PO, Tarkin, and Dodonna. And the person who got it right got it way quicker than I thought anyone would. I thought I was way more clever than I was. So good for you. Shout out to the Dark Moose at The Darkest Moose. Way to get your handle and way to get that right. So cheers to you.
The Darkest Thursday, Moose. I love that.
On Thursday, we're bringing back Is the Force With You after a week hiatus. And we'll count down our picks for saddest moments in Star Wars history. So bring your tissues, but it will be fun, don't worry. And thanks for being a part of the Resistance and stopping by for this transmission. And we will see you all on Thursday morning, right here on the Resistance broadcast.